Hello, welcome to Tea with Molly. Today we have Tammy Shapiro with us. She is the CEO of Talk of the Town and founder of N.E.W. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks. We have met each other, I guess, several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I think, right?
You were our first speaker at N.E.W.
Right. I was the first speaker of N.E.W. And I think I met you at a distance at a networking event before that. And, you know, if we're talking about how we met, why don't we start by N.E.W. because that's really where we got connected, got to know each other. What was your inspiration for N.E.W. and how did you find the first guest?
Well, my inspiration for N.E.W. was through all the networking that I had been doing, and I kind of wanted to develop something that was primarily for women, but men are welcome, and we always have men at each event. But I didn't want it to be just focused on networking. I wanted it to involve some charitable component where we were giving back to the community. So each month we highlight a different organization, and we try to bring focus because we all get really busy in our day-to-day lives, and we don't know what's out there. And it's always a surprise to some of the guests when they're like, I didn't even know that existed, or that was a problem, or there was a need. So if we can bring awareness to one person, one charity a month, I feel like we're accomplishing our goal. And I think you were brought to N.E.W. through Tracy Betts, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yes, she recommended that I speak with you and how wonderful of a speaker you were, and you were. And yeah, so we're on our 3rd year.
So tell me what N.E.W. stands for, and why was it that you decided to really focus on executives?
It stands for Networking Executive Women, but our mission is not only to draw in women that are currently in an executive position or working, but also bring in women that are maybe perhaps looking to get back into the the workforce, or who may have just relocated to the area, since we are in a transient area that people, military, are always coming to this area, and bring them in and make friends, make acquaintances, business contacts. So I think that's our goal, and I think we're pretty much accomplishing it as far as our 3rd year going into this.
Why did you feel that there was a need? Was there something lacking for you and that's what motivated it? Was it something that people suggested? And why did you decide to be the founder?
I think it was more because, I mean, I go to a lot of networking events, and, you know, there are charity organizations and things that are out there, but I wanted it to be a one-stop shop type thing, so that, you know, if we can just seek out a different organization every month that people aren't aware of, and we're bringing awareness to that organization, whether we're, you know, collecting coats or helping Christie's Christmas or Doorways or whatever the charity is or organization, we're all so busy with work, and, you know, it's something that we want to do and we have the intention to do it, but I feel if we bring it to people, they're more likely to get involved. And maybe if it's just, you know, painting a house on a Saturday afternoon or doing a 5K to raise money for kids, something just to, you know, if we bring it to people, it's like if you build it, they will come.
Yes.
So.
And what type of topics or speakers do you seek, like in terms of being able to engage the audience and participants that should sign up every month?
We try to rotate. We don't focus just on business. Personal growth and development is a big thing for us. People sharing their stories that are inspirational. One of our best speakers, besides you, that we had was the founder or the CEO of the Domino's here in the DC metro area. Mary Caraway, I think it is. And I mean, she had the whole room in tears. Her story was just so inspiring, and what she had gone through and how she had climbed the ladder to get to that position, and, you know, losing her husband. And I mean, and to sit there and you see grown men reduced to tears, and it's just like, it feels good to like bring awareness to different things and stories, and not just focus primarily on business. Every August we do a lunch that's bring your kids to lunch, and, you know, we had a child speaker last year, and this year we're bringing in a speaker that is focusing on how kids can get scholarships. And his 2 children right now, his daughter will be leaving for Stanford on a full ride, and the son goes to Vanderbilt and he's going to share how to achieve that, and bringing your kids to lunch and finding out different ways to do that. So
I love that. Just the depth of stories, right? It's not just particularly for businesses and how to be successful from the business realm, but it's really about how to be successful in life.
It is, absolutely.
Talking about success in life, let's go back now.
Okay.
We talked about N.E.W. and where you are present day, but you've had a journey yourself to get here. What inspired you to become the entrepreneur that you are? Because not only are you the founder of N.E.W., we introduced you also as a CEO of Talk of the Town. So I'd like for you to kind of share with us all of your inspirations and challenges that led you to then launch this business.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Niagara Falls, New York. I'm one of 3 children. I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers, and I guess I was the nurturer and always taking care of everybody. And I was the first to go to college and graduate from both sides of my family. And it was just something that I always wanted to do, but it wasn't in our family something that was like, well, you need to go to college, you need to get an education. I went to a vocational school. I got my license to do hair, and I started my own business, and I would go to senior citizen high-rise buildings and do their hair, because in Niagara Falls the winters are so long and cold that it was hard for them to get out. So I would go to their apartments and do their hair, and it was my own little business, and then I would go back to campus and go to class. And so I did that pretty much for the 4 years that I was in college, and that was my first little business, I guess. And upon graduation, my degree was in theater and English and theater and a communications minor. I worked in a radio station, a local radio station, for about 1.5 years, and then I decided to test the waters. And I moved, never having been there, to California. I had friends out there. I'm like, I'm going to California. I'm going to be a star. So I moved out to LA.
Way to go for it.
Hey, both feet in the water. And I had friends, and I got out there, and I stayed with a friend for about 2 weeks, and I found a job as a property manager, and it gave me an apartment, and it was in this great development. It was like kind of a Melrose kind of environment, 3 pools, you know, the whole thing, the gyms, everything, and I worked on site, and I had an apartment that was furnished. And I remember calling home, because this was so surreal for my mom to even think, like, I'm like, hey, I got an apartment, I got a job, I'm working, and I'm going to be living on the premises. And she's like, what else do you have to do? This sounds too good to be true. Yeah. So I worked doing that, and they were really great, and my schedule was flexible. So I was able to pursue my acting career. And I did some walk-on parts in movies and got to go on some TV sets and work and everything. And my first one was Terminator 2. But Arnold wasn't there that day, so that was the first one, and I worked on like Naked Gun 2.5 and a bunch of TV shows.
So much fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then I was out there for about 3 years and made some great friends, and still great friends today. And I met my future husband, and we decided we wanted to be back on the East Coast because he was from Philadelphia and his family was there. So we came back to the East Coast, and we had friends that relocated to this area right when we did. And they're like, oh, you should check out Virginia. So we checked out Virginia, and we were like, this is kind of nice. And we got jobs. I worked for Classic Concierge, this corporate concierge company in DC. And I did that for 3 years. And I was their catering coordinator for the company. And I would help set up the parties at all the different buildings throughout DC in the area. And we had this budget, and it was like nobody would touch the budget for this party. Oh, it's not enough. Oh, and it was the St. Patrick's Day party. And so I'm like, oh, I could do this party. And they're like, well, why don't you? So I did the party, and from that party came 2 more parties and 2 more parties. And then all of a sudden it just kind of escalated. And all of a sudden I was working full time, and I had a business, a catering business. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. So shortly there into it, the catering business, a lot of the clients started asking for gift baskets. And being the type A, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. Never having made one in my life. So all of a sudden I had 2 businesses. So then decided to have my daughter, and I got pregnant and had my daughter, and I was like, okay, I cannot run 2 businesses and go back to work full time and have a baby. So I decided to just jump in again, both feet in the water, and stayed home with her. Had a 1,000 square foot kitchen in Alexandria and ran the business out of there. Did the catering for about probably 2 years after Dory was born. And then decided just to sell that and focus on the gift industry. And when I did that, I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to educate myself and really find out what the industry is about. So I went to my first convention, and believe it or not, there are gift basket conventions. And it's
a convention for everything.
It was like 500 people. I mean, it was crazy. So I get there, and I thought, well, if I'm going to go, I'm going to try one of their design competitions. My first time ever going. So I went, and I won 3rd place for the best holiday design. So then I was like, gosh, this is so much fun. I was so inspired. I came back, and I went 6 months later to the next one. And at that time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to really challenge myself. I'm going to enter 2 designs. So I did, and both placed, and one took first place for Best of Show. And so from that, they're like, you're eligible for Designer of the Year. So every 6 months, they would have a convention, East Coast, West Coast. So the next one was in Vegas, and my brother lived out there. And I'm like, let's make this a family vacation, and we'll just go, and I'll just enter, since I'm eligible, and I'm not going to win. And we go to this convention, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and it's like the Academy Awards of gift baskets. We're in this huge, dining room in Vegas, and there's lights, and I was at one of the furthest back tables. I just remember thinking, there's no way. And they announced the winner, and it was me, and I'm like, are you kidding? So here I am trying to get up to the stage, and it's taking forever, and I get up there, and I won Designer of the Year, and it was like $1,000, a full magazine shoot, and they flew me to Florida where the magazine was produced. Right. And put me up at a hotel, and I got to do a whole layout for the magazine. And from that, it opened up so many doors, because like within a week of the magazine coming out, I got a call from the Dallas Market Center, and they're like, we want to fly you out to be an instructor, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh.
Then all of a sudden, I got a call, and they were like, we want you to be on back then, the Fancy Food Show, which is the largest show in the food industry, was in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco 3 times a year. So they flew me to all 3 of those, and it's just kind of escalated from there.
Oh my God.
21 years later.
21 years.
Yeah.
There's so many things when you were talking that I could kind of tap into, right? This concept of jumping right in. Like, you just went for it. Wherever you felt compelled, it's like, I'm going to just go all in. You moved to California. You decided, I'm going to just go do this catering thing. Did you even have a background in catering at the time?
I had worked in restaurants all through like high school, college, and whenever there was a holiday party or a function in our family, it always ended up at our house. So I was always involved in some way.
And then also, the other one I wanted to tap into is this concept of just going for it, right? You just signed up for this gift basket thing, wanted to learn and try something out, and you end up winning all these awards. And just like that, once you get the accolades, you get recognized, everything changes. And it's not an overnight sensation. It was all those years of trying this, abandoning that, trying this again, another, evolution of it or tweak to it. These days we call it a pivot, right, from your business, pivoting here and there. And it's constantly evolving. So as a business owner, how do you manage when it's time to truly pivot, or when it's just you being bored and keeping true to, because that happens when you're creative.
It is. And what I've found over the last few years, I had a business venture with 2 people that I've met in the industry. We've become friends over the years. One that became Designer of the year after I was Designer of the Year, and I got to announce her name at the convention. And then one that I met further down the road. And we decided, because the convention had since kind of fizzled and nobody was doing it because of the economy, we're like, we should try and do this. So we started a company called Celebrate Expo, and it was the convention, and we did that. And unfortunately, it didn't work at the time. Like they say, you don't know someone until you go into business with them. Right. And one of the person's practices were a little different than the other 2, and their vision was a little different than ours. And we just decided to go our separate ways. And 2 of us decided to kind of stay together and try it on our own. And, each time you have to decide whether, is this worth it for my business? And what is it taking me away from? Because the convention itself, we've since decided to just do one-day seminars, intensives, and not worry about the vendors. And we'll introduce the vendors in our classes, but not bring in a full convention because it just was so time-consuming. And it was like one of those things where we always wanted to do it. We tried it, but you have to know when something is not working, when to step away and go, okay, this isn't worth it. And unfortunately, the person that we had the business venture wasn't happy that we decided not to move forward with her, but it was a business sense that I had to know what was working for me, and her practices were much different than mine. And that happens, in life and in relationships. So you really have to, it's self-examining, I think, step back and go, okay, am I doing what's right? Am I doing, who's benefiting from this? Is the business benefiting? Am I benefiting? And we put so many stresses on ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And it's so funny, in the last few years, the one thing I'm like, I just need to say no sometimes. Yes. You have to. And it's like I want to grow my business, but there's things that are more important to me, family and being, I was a single mom. So I had to bring that balance. I did my business from home for many years because I wanted to be at home when she got home from school. And I think it was important. And from that, it's been an amazing experience. I've been able to go on her journey with her through all her, dance competitions. And, I was able to go out to California when she was on America's Got Talent and be there for 5 weeks and run my business from a hotel room. So it's like, you just have to really know when to pull back and say, what's this going to benefit? The business, myself, my health, my well-being, my family. And it's a juggling act on a day-to-day basis. It really, truly is.
Well, I'm going to take a quick side note and we'll come back to the services and what's working for Talk of the Town. But you mentioned your daughter and you mentioned her being able to have all these wonderful experiences and you don't want her to miss out. And I think that has a lot to do with also how we as adults, and especially if we're in a mentoring role, in your case you're a parent, I'm not a parent yet, but I have nephews, like the actions that we take in life is teaching our children every day, right? So the fact that you jump in and go for it, I'm sure has impacted the way that she sees the world, and she entered this competition with the school. So let's talk about that. How proud of you are, how proud of you of her, because she has the same pizzazz that you do. The go and try it.
Yeah.
You don't know until you try it, right?
Oh, absolutely. You'll make me emotional here. Yeah, to meet her, people say she's so quiet. And she is very quiet until you get to know her. But then she has this really goofy, silly side of her. But from such a young age, she's so driven, Like she came home in 9th grade, and after 9 years of German, because she went to an immersion school in Fairfax County, she decided, I'm going to take French next year. I'm not going to do German anymore because I'm going to be a fashion major, and I think I need to learn a little French to go to Paris to be a fashion major. I'm like, 9th grade. I'm like, oh, okay, and she's stuck with that plan the entire time. She got into her first choice of colleges, and now she's at Kent State studying fashion. Still loves to dance, but she realizes, I said, well, what about dance? And Mom, my body won't last forever, it's a hard industry. I really want to do fashion. I'm like, okay. So it's like it has rubbed off on her, and it's so funny when she'll help sometimes when we do big jobs and stuff, and I'll see us working side by side, and I won't have to say anything, and I can see me and her, and it's like, oh, okay. And she just does things, you have those aha moments as a parent, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's working. It's relationships, and she'll say, that person is just not the right person I want to be associated with, and you're just kind of like,
oh, thank God.
It's working.
That's
and you
awesome.
just stop and like, thanks God. But it's like it's hard being a parent. It's hard being a parent around here because there is a lot of money in this county, and there are kids that have everything. And when you're a single mom and you're juggling, it's like you want to give your kid everything, but sometimes you can't, And she's just been really great about understanding our limits and what we're capable of doing. And
well, it makes me want to talk about success in general. I mean, success, can be defined in so many different ways. When you feel successful in life, it's like you're getting choked up about your daughter because you feel there you've done such an amazing job, or at least you'd like to think that, right? And you watch it and you're witnessing her making these big decisions, and she's come up with those concepts on her own, but really she's been mentored by you all along. So, you know, that impact there. And then success from a business standpoint, your success is also her success, because when you're happy and she sees the model for success, meaning you're trying to find that balance, one day she's going to have to make those tough decisions, and what's her frame of reference? Well, what would mom do? You know? So that's really powerful.
And
thanks for sharing
she
that.
does call, you know, it's nice, and you have those moments in Mother's Day. You know, she gave me this beautiful card, and it said, you know, thank you for being there for me my first year at college, and my support unit, and you know, you were my rock or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's working. So it's just, that to me is so much more rewarding than any designer of a year or anything like that. It's like, it's just, you have those moments, and nothing compares to it. So yeah.
Okay, so let's come back to your business. Now, talk of the town, gourmet gifts and more.
Yes.
Okay, so, and more.
More. And more is, as we mentioned, we started as a catering company, and we do a lot of events for our clients. It's called Creative Catering Solutions. We don't do the catering. We have vendors that we hire out. Cupcake bars, candy apple bars, very creative, because our primary source of clientele is property management. So they do a lot of lobby events and events for the tenants that are in the buildings. So we were trying to come up with something creative that we could do for them and bring it to the lobbies of the buildings for, you know, to keep us busy year round, because we are a gift company, and of course our busiest time of year is from October to December. So as a business owner, I need to come up with ways to keep me and my people busy year round. So that was how we did that. And we do event decor for weddings, bat mitzvahs, graduation parties, you name it. A little bit of everything. So we'll go in and kind of work with the client and kind of make their vision and dream come true as far as what they're trying to achieve, is, you know, if it's a themed event, or, so that's where the more comes in. Okay. So yeah.
What are some of the most popular services, or I would say even gifts, that come through when people are calling or going online? What are your biggest sale items, and why do you think that is?
We do a lot of corporate, so anything that can have a company's colors, their logo, their image, they want to get, it's branding. They want to brand their business, and we sell ourselves as an extension of their marketing department, a creative way to give gifts. So we do a lot with customers, and we'll work with them really close to achieve their goal and their message when they're giving gifts to their clients.
Well, and also we have to plug you as well, because you're one of the Tea with Molly sponsors. So thank you so much for supporting us and cross-promoting with us, and also being able to now offer a gift basket that's under the Tea with Molly brand. So that's coming up soon. And if anybody's watching who's interested, who wants to buy a Tea with Molly basket, it'll support her, it'll support our show as well. And a percentage of the proceeds will go to a nonprofit. We've discussed this, and we're both very big on charity, and I want to make sure that we talk about this, because the work that we do is not just about the income that we make, but it really is to help and give back to the community. Which then leads me to ask you, where does that come from for you? Because again, you spoke of N.E.W. and that every month you support a charity. You talked about the first business you had with going to basically senior homes. A part of that is, not only was it a business for you, but it really was because you felt there was a need. There was a solution you could provide that made somebody or people's lives better. And where does that come from?
I'd probably have to just say my mom, and, you know, just bringing us up, it was always important to give back and to do the right thing. And she, you know, just always encouraged us to get involved. And I just always felt like I had to, because when you look around at what we have there's so many people that have so many things going on in their lives, from illness to, you know, homelessness to, you know, women's shelters where they're struggling. And it's just like, you know, I think it's great to be successful, but it's great to step back and just take a reality check, because we all know it can be gone tomorrow. you know, and it's just important to make, I want to leave something behind that people say, you know, wow, she was a giver. Right. She did something to make a difference. And that's what I've tried to bestow in Dory as well. Like, it's important, you know, to give back. And I can remember when she's like 4 years old, we were out, you know, doing a community cleanup day, and, you know, she thought it was so cool to wear the orange vest. But, it, you know, it's just, you know, trying to make that difference and leave our stamp. And I think everybody needs to stop once in a while. I mean, we're all busy. We all have things going on in our lives, but it's so important just to reflect and give back.
And you mentioned, you know, to me, we're really one illness or one instant away from that could be us. And whatever we're comparing ourselves to, whatever situation, it can happen to any single person. We can have all the things that we want in one day, and the next moment, everything is gone. And so, you know, we take that for granted, but when we do the work that we do, we always have to think, like, if that were me, what kind of support would I want or would I desire from others?
Exactly. You know, and it's, to me, raising Dory, you know, alone and stuff, it was important for me to, like, know that she had that in her. You know, she did Girl Scouts up until 6th grade, and then, you know, it wasn't cool. And so I told her, I said, we need to come up with something, because you need to do a service project every year, or something that you're giving back to the community. And we came up with, we have a holiday party every year at our house. So we decided that on our invitation, we would ask people to bring an unwrapped toy. So every year when we have our holiday party, it's like a big thing. We collect toys, then we take them to an organization called Christie's Christmas. And they disperse of them throughout the county to kids that wouldn't have Christmas. And it's become like this big thing for the two of us. And she would get so excited, oh my gosh, look how many toys we have, and loading them into the car. And she just thought that that was the greatest thing in the world. So, you know, it's just, those little things make a difference, and it doesn't take anything. It really, you know, it doesn't take anything for you to add to an invitation. Bring a toy or bring a canned good, or, you know, it's just something little.
It's really inspiring that you're actually asking of your child, not even asking, but making it basically very normal. It's a common thing to do this. It's having a service project every year, and it's ingrained in your child from early on. And I think that that is something for our audience to kind of be inspired by, because, you know, children out there, really, they just need support and guidance. They don't know what they don't know, and it's our responsibility to say, what are some good things from the get-go that's going to help them be better citizens for the community and society. So it's really awesome that you're doing that. And you also mentioned off camera before the show that you host international students as well. How did that come about, and what are the benefits to you for that?
Well, as an only child, I grew up with 2 brothers, so as an only child, I wanted Dory to, you know what it was like to have someone else in the house with her just besides me and Buster the dog. And she was part of the Orange Hunt Immersion program, and it was a German program where she would go a half a day and learn in English and a half a day in German, from 1st grade to 6th grade. Wow. And they had this program. They said, you know, we need people to host some German students that are coming over. They were actually a little older at the time, and they were here through KPMG, the accounting firm, and they were doing a business program for 6 months. So we hosted our first student, Emmy, and she was wonderful. We loved Emmy, and we still stay in touch with Emmy on Facebook. She just got married, she had a baby, and it's just so neat. And so from there, then we hosted a girl named Grace from Korea for a whole school year. And it's just so neat to, like, the cultures and the experiences, and, you know, Dory has someone to kind of hang out with and learn from, and she sees what their lifestyle is, and they learn about our lifestyle, and they become family. And it's like you have all these people around the world now that are family, extended family. I was in New York City in October, and Grace, our exchange student, is attending Pratt University, and she met for lunch, and, you know, it's like we still have contact with them even since they're gone. And it's just, it's neat to learn about other countries and how their lives are, and, you know, what brought them, and what, you know, is so intriguing about America for them to want to come here and study and learn what, you know, our lifestyle is like. So I just thought that was an interesting experience for her. And it ended up that Dory wanted to go to, she went on a mission trip to Belize a few years ago with our church. She came home, I'm going to Belize. I'm like, excuse me?
How old was she at the time?
She was in 11th grade. yeah, she just was like, I want to go to Belize. And you know, it was so neat because I remember picking her up from the airport and saying to her, I'm like, well, how was it? Because she's a little bit of a princess, and this was no frills, and they slept on the floor of a church, and you know, the water they swam in was, you know, muddy. And I remember seeing a picture on Facebook because the group that took them, they would post every day, so you knew how your child was doing. And all of a sudden I see her in the water and kids around her laughing, and I'm like, oh, thanks. You know, it was comforting to know that. But I remember what she said to me. She said, it changed me. And that's all you can ask for. You know, it was like in a good way.
She's definitely a cultured child, let me tell you, from all of the experiences that you've allowed in her life. So
yeah, it's important.
And what kind of advice would you give to single moms in terms of raising a child and allowing their mind to be expanded and their opportunities? And it's not all about money. It's not all about money at all. What advice would you give?
I think it's important. I mean, it's so hard juggling work and home and kids, and I think the most important thing is you have to be involved in their lives. You need to know their friends and know who they're hanging out with, because it takes one bad person to change your child like that. And I think it's important to get involved, to be involved in their school activities, to know who their teachers are, know who their coaches are, and, you know, let them know. It's just letting them know you care, you know. It's like when they're up there playing softball or soccer or dancing or whatever, the first thing that they do as a kid is they look to see who's in the audience and see you there. You have to be present, and it's not always easy when you're doing everything by yourself, but I think just being present and letting them know that you are there no matter what, and, you know, good times, bad times, that you'll get through it together. I think that's really important.
Your daughter has you as a mentor and as a mom. Who do you look up to? Who mentors you?
I'd have to say, well, my mom, because she, you know, has always been a rock to me and been there, and I'll have a meltdown day and I'll pick up the phone and call her, and she's like, it's okay. It's okay, you're allowed to crumble every once in a while. But she's always been there for me, and just, you know, my cheerleader.
Hi, we're here with Tammy Shapiro on Tea with Molly, and we'll take a short break and be right back.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And it changed everything. This was my wish.
Why does it feel like nobody likes me?
Everyone thinks I'm a failure.
Why can't I feel happy?
I don't want to be around anyone.
My sadness never goes away.
I can't do anything right.
Do my friends even really like
I always
me?
Life is
worry that
pointless.
I don't deserve it.
Parents
Nobody
are
likes me.
disappointed in
I don't
me.
want to live anymore. Unless you've walked in their shoes, you would never know the overwhelming feelings of sadness, anxiety, and hopelessness that cause hundreds of students to take their own lives.
In fact, the number of students we lose to suicide every year would fill an entire high school.
We need to step up.
We need to start the conversation about good mental health.
Help us reverse attitudes and save lives.
The life that you save might be your own, or someone you love.
To learn more, go to attitudesinreverse.org.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Art, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. The pressure's too much. I quit. I get it. I can do better. Just please don't leave.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Hello, thanks for tuning in to Tea with Molly. We're here with Tammy Shapiro. And the work that you do with N.E.W. and all the women that get together, and men, you also have very supportive men that come around and support you.
They're the smart men.
They're the smart men. What are your hopes and dreams for N.E.W.? Like I know you have a big vision for it expanding beyond just a very small local network. What are your visions for N.E.W. and why is it important for you to continue to inspire using this platform?
Well, in addition to our monthly meetings that we do, every year we have our one-year anniversary gala, and that's in October, and we honor one woman, and it's community, people, yourself was nominated, and they're nominated from the community, and they're recognized as Woman of the Year. And at that event, we also recognize a big charity. This year, it's going to be Doorways in Arlington, which is a shelter house for abused women and children. And I guess my goal and my vision for N.E.W. is I'd like to grow it nationally. And there are people that have approached me, relatives in New York and friends in different areas, saying, how can we do this? So that is, yeah, I mean, it would be fun to see it grow nationally and become a national type of organization. And just, again, bringing awareness. Just, if we can change, have a speaker that touches one person that day, and you just never know, because it was, so many times after we've had a lunch and someone will call me and go, gosh, I really needed that. It just really helped me today. Thank you so much. Or I'll get an email and they'll say, that was incredible. I've been struggling with this for so long. And, that speaker was just what I needed. So that alone is so rewarding to me. It's like, I'm not looking to get rich off of it or anything by any means. It's just, I'm rich in other ways. So.
Well, I have to give credit to where credit is due, because I did speak at the N.E.W. luncheon. It was the first one, I can believe it. And I will say that experience led me to meet one of the gentlemen there, John, who then introduced me to the Rotary Club that he's involved in, and I spoke there, which then led me to speak to 3 other Rotary Clubs, which then led me to speak to another organization, a Unitarian church, that allowed me to reach several people, 3 of which attended one of my retreats recently, and transformed their whole lives, because they had also been suffering from loss and grief, and they just didn't know how to get out of it in a very natural way. They wanted to get off of their medication. They just didn't feel like there was anybody out there willing to share their story. And that's another thing with N.E.W., which I really appreciate. It's not just a business platform. It's really about, there's a lot of human interest stories, and it's truly about the community and uplifting people to their own greatness. And so I want to thank you for that, because that one opportunity, and we never know. Like I do a lot of, yes, I'm going to go and do this and this, because you never know the impact you're going to have. Sure. And the money does come, but if you focus on the outcome of money, then you really kind of step away from the integrity of doing what you're supposed to do, which is to help people. So I just want to say thank you to you for doing that, because it was a huge, and I waited to share this with you because it was an opportunity that led to so many other things for my personal brand and for the work that I do. So thanks very much. So there's also something that I'm curious about. You talked about entertainment, and you talked about being on stage in the theater, and you went to pursue this, and now you've come in, you've decided to be an entrepreneur. How do you bring all of you to the table? How do you bring that person that was an actress and on stage and crazy wild with expression to your everyday life as a businesswoman?
It's so funny, because to me in life, I think everything comes full circle, and it has, because by winning the Designer of the Year, I was asked to speak at several venues. So I kind of satisfy that little getting up in front of an audience. That's why it doesn't faze me to get up in front of people and just, they're probably like, get her off stage. But I feel like it's come full circle to be able to do that. And then it's so funny because I just started to get involved at church and sing a little bit. And I haven't done that in so long, and it feels so good to be back up on stage. And you know, I pushed myself out there again, jumping in with both feet. In October, I went to New York City and auditioned for the next Food Network star. I didn't get the audition, but
awesome.
So
you went for it.
I did. I'm putting myself out there. So it's kind of like now I feel like it's okay, it's your turn. You can kind of start doing those things again. You know, my responsibilities, I always have responsibilities as a parent, but not as intense as it was because she's, you know, an adult now. So it's like I'm just kind of putting things out there, and I still satisfy that little need to be in front of people and entertain. So.
Now, also you mentioned the charities, right? I want to talk about this because there are so many charities in the Washington, D.C. area. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, of nonprofits. How do you go about choosing them when you want to support them? Is there an application process? Are they referred to you? How do you know that they're legit? Do you go out and have, what's your process for choosing them? Because, I mean, it's a great opportunity to have the exposure through N.E.W.
We currently do not have an application process, but I do have a great board who is very knowledgeable, very in tune with the community. They're all business owners. They all know what we're looking for. So we will meet and discuss that. Like, you know, this is one that was brought to my attention. On occasion, we'll have attendees say, you know, there's this great organization. I think you should look into possibly having them as your charity of the month and stuff. So a lot of it's referral. A lot of it is the board, you know, stumbling onto something, and we just kind of come together and have a board meeting and like, oh, okay, let's bring awareness to that. So. But eventually, I think it will come to that point where we have to have, you know, an application process.
How involved are the speakers each month in choosing the charity? Does that happen sometimes, or do you usually have them picked in advance?
It doesn't necessarily happen, but we do welcome that. As far as like if someone's coming and they, you know, have a charity that's close to them, we're absolutely open to that in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely.
And what's next for your business? Like, do you actually plan on expanding? What you mentioned earlier about you don't necessarily need to have like a mega expansion because you want balance in your life, but do you have a vision for where you want to take it, where it is now? Do you actually want to expand the business elsewhere, or is it going to stay local? And
I think it'll be, I mean, we do ship anywhere in the U.S. We deliver Virginia, D.C., Maryland. We'll continue to, you know, nurture the clients that we have and continue to grow where we can. And, you know, eventually, I mean, as a business owner, you look at your business and your long-term goal, hopefully, is to someday maybe sell your business. So I guess I'm really focusing on making sure my systems are in place. And I've gone back to a lot of like how we started. It's kind of funny, again, going full circle and going back to the basics. Like, okay, this is, you know, when the economy gets tough, it makes you to think outside the box, going, okay, how do I keep that client and keep the clients that I have, and what is going to keep them happy? You know, you can't go in every year for the holidays with the same thing, you know, and there for a while with the economy in such dire straits, a lot of the vendors weren't bringing in new products. So we were forced to go, okay, well, how do we do this year? Because they get stuck with it. So they don't want to get stuck with, you know, imports from China that, you know, they can't move. It's Christmas. And so we had to like really get creative on some of the things that we come up with for the holidays. And so it's starting to slowly come back because unfortunately we're an amenity, we're not a necessity. And when the economy gets tough, we're one of the first things that gets cut. So it's like, okay, now what do we do, you know?
Right. Well, which comes back to the whole concept of relationships, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that you have to have really strong relationships because the economy does dictate who stays and who goes, especially when you have a business like yours. How do you maintain your relationships? I think this is a great topic for every business owner out there because we have a tendency, especially if we're small and growing, to kind of go after all the new potentials. And we forget that the majority of our successes will come from those that are already existing clients. Absolutely. How do we maintain them, keep them engaged, keep them coming back? How do you do it?
You have to stay in front of them. I mean, there's times that, you know, we have a delivery and I'm like, I'll take that. You know, I just haven't seen them in a while. I'll go in, I'll deliver, I'll bring a little gift for them. It might just be a box of chocolates or something, or, oh, you know, or if I know they like something. Like I have one client that the whole office goes crazy over our chocolate toffee pretzels. So I bring a bag for everybody. Every time I go there to see them, I'm like bringing toffee pretzels. And you know, it's those little things, just the little leave behinds. Or if I'm going out of town and I have certain clients that are very last minute, oh my gosh, we have an emergency, I'll let them know, like, hey, I'm gonna be out of town for a week. Do you have anything coming up that you might need while I'm gone? And they just love that. They feel like they're really being taken care of, and you know, shooting them an email, hey, I haven't heard from you, how are you? You know, it's
and you're being proactive and you're thinking for them. You're basically coming up, solving problems that they don't even foresee yet.
Yes, and I mean, I have one client that I've worked with for years and can be very particular when it comes to her holiday gifts, right down to the cello and the bowl. You know, it's like every little aspect of the gift. And I will start courting her, you know, August, September, hey, let's set up a time, and it'll get pushed back, and it gets pushed back, and you know, we have jumped through hoops, but they keep calling us because they know they're going to get the attention, and I'll bring the products in, try this and see what you like, and you know, is there something we can do? Let's try this, and you know, we'll go above and beyond. It's just, you know, taking those steps to get closer and closer to them, and if they feel like they're being made special, they love it. You know, it's just making them feel like they're important and that their order is important, that every order is important.
What do you think your secret to success is for your business? You've been in business for 21 years, you mentioned. How do you stay that long in business? Especially when so many small businesses after a few years say, I can't do this, I'm done.
Right.
How do you sustain that?
Again, I think it's the relationships, building the relationships, the trust, people trusting you, and just knowing that, you know, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to be there and you do it, and it's going to be done right each and every time, that they can rely on us. And you know, that's something that I pride myself in, and that's what I teach anybody that's working with me. And it's just important, you know, if you say you're going to do something, do it when it's supposed to be done and the way it should be done.
So I'm going to ask you more tactical questions,
Okay.
because how do you do that? I mean, what systems and tools do you use? I'm thinking 21 years, you have massive corporate clients, individual clients, holidays, special occasions, birthdays. I mean, I'm just thinking so many different types of personalities. How in the world do you manage that? Well, you and your team, right? How in the world, what systems? Is it email? Is it?
We do. We have a very strong constant contact base as far as our email blasts. So we're always putting those little, hey, you know, start thinking about the holidays, and you know, the little ticklers, you have to do that. And then we'll do like a massive mailing at the holiday season, you know, maybe start with a postcard and then our brochure, and then just sometimes I'll just sit down and like email people like, hey, how's it going? You know, just wanted to, you know, see how you guys are doing. Last year you did this time of year, is going to be a need. So I try and keep track of what people did a year out, so I can go back and say, hey, you know, I know we did a party for you last year for your tenants here. Right. Is it something you're considering this year? So I try and, you know, be really proactive with that. During the holidays, we have a huge, and everyone's like, well, can't you do this with spreadsheets? And we can, but I think it's so visual. It's a huge chart that we make up, and it's every gift item that we carry, every client, and how many they've ordered. And it's fun because everybody has a good time seeing it grow each week. You know, oh my gosh, we're doing that many of those. And as soon as we get to highlight them off, they're done. They're like, wow, we did that many. It's there in front of their face, so they're seeing it going, that was fun, you know, wow, we really did a lot today. And it just, you know, you can do spreadsheets and stuff, and we do an Excel spreadsheet, but this is more visual because it's right there in front of them. And everybody enjoys seeing us like highlight, that's done, that's done. We did, you know, 300 pieces today, or 500 pieces.
How do you do that?
So
that's a lot.
Yeah, you can't walk in the shop during Christmas.
Well, that's another thing too. You have a shop, you have a storefront, and you also do a lot of business online. So what are some of the ways that you actually invite people? Do you get people coming in and kind of taking a look at what's available in the storefront?
Absolutely, and we would welcome more of that. We are in a somewhat industrial park, I guess you would call it, on Fullerton Road right there. We have a business partnership with a company called MVLE, and we sublet space from them. They employ people with disabilities, and they have their own product line, which is a potpourri line and a shoe fresh line. And the shoe fresh are like little sachets that you put in your shoes, and they smell good. And they have people with disabilities that make those in their part of the building, and they come over and they'll clean our office space, and it's just an incredible environment because all they want to do is work. And it's all levels of disability and wounded warriors that they employ. And it's so neat to be in such a positive environment, and you see them going off to work in the morning, getting in the vans to go, and they do cleaning of office buildings. And you just sit back, and it just makes me, you know, some mornings I'm like, gosh, look, you know, I need to be more like that. They're just so happy to be here and working, you know, and I may have sat in traffic getting here, or something may have happened or whatever, but it kind of puts things in perspective, and they'll come over and visit and chat and stuff, and it's really a cool environment, and you're helping a cause if you do come into the shop and you purchase their products as well.
That's great. Yeah. Well, and also for the audience, the viewers that are not from the local DC area, I want them to know that you're in Virginia, Northern Virginia,
yes,
in the Springfield area, so that if you're, you know, and then we'll give information about how to reach you soon, and people can find out more about you, but we do have an audience that extends beyond, which then leads me to ask you, do you do shipping? Do you do things outside of the area? How do you work with those outside of the area?
We ship anywhere in the U.S., DC, Virginia, Maryland, deliver local. We can ship UPS, FedEx, we can do United States Postal, yeah, so conventions, that's a big thing for us. Like if companies are holding a convention, they want to do amenity gifts, we do a lot of amenity gifts, so we can ship just about anywhere.
So two major questions that I have for you that I think you're just going to be brilliant in answering is, how do you maintain your relationships with all of the vendors and all of the people that you work with? Because you customize all of your gifts. So when a client wants this or wants that, you need to have this huge network, not just clients, vendors and partners. How do you find them?
It's so funny. Well, I have the privilege of going to a lot of shows because I either speak at them as an instructor or hold seminars, and I'm very lucky. I'll be going to Atlanta in a couple weeks to the Atlanta Marts, which is a huge convention or like trade show where you go and shop and buy. Through the years, I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to go and speak at these shows, and a lot of the vendors get it. If I use their product, it brings people to their booths. Right. So I have vendors that will, Tammy, we just came out with this new line, will you test it and see what you think? And they'll just send me samples, like try this and let us know, which way should we package this? Should the box look like this, or does this work in a basket? And so I'm really fortunate that I've built those relationships, and it's all about relationships. We literally have a closet at our shop, and it's just shelves, and it's all of our vendors, and they're all in, you know, binders and books, and it'll be chocolate companies, cookie companies, nut companies, popcorn, you know, Bath and Body, candles, and it's all, you know, organized in there, and that we have to be like that because I never know at any given moment, you know, someone may call and say, oh, we're doing a wine tasting, and we need something like a wine gift or something that's vineyard theme, and we can go right to that closet and pull the book and go, okay, well, we have this, this, and this, and we can send them samples. And
that's fantastic.
So it's, you have to be organized. That is the key, yeah. Organization.
Well, I think you have the background to, you know, in terms of your career, to learn how to be really organized. The second question, the last question, is about boards, because I think that's a big issue, is how do you select the right board members to help you with whatever cause, or even the board of directors for the company too, but I know you have a board with N.E.W, and how do you keep the boards, because it's mostly volunteer-based, if not all, engaged and want to contribute?
That can be challenging at times. I have this, it's so funny, I just found it the other day. It was a letter of reference, and somebody wrote it for me for a part-time job that I had when I lived in LA. And I worked in the evenings as a receptionist for an oil company. And I know, you name it, I've done it. And I would work, you know, like a 4 to 8 shift. And I found the letter of reference from the president, and it said in there, a company is as successful as the people it hires. And I always use that in the back of my head, that a board is only going to be as successful as the people you bring on it. Right. So when selecting the board for N.E.W. and bringing those people together, I was thinking about personalities. I mean, because that's a huge thing. It has to mesh, and people have to have the same vision, I guess. You want the same vision and the same purpose. And so I wanted people that were successful at what they do, that had the same vision, that giving back was a huge factor. And each person that sits on that board is very much a believer and gives back to their community. So that was always, that I think is a primary thing that I was looking for. And keeping them entertained, making it fun. We'll get together, we'll do dinner, or we'll meet for lunch, and just kind of, we keep it light and never take it too serious, because we're all there for the same purpose, is to create an environment where people can grow and learn and develop into what they want to develop into, but we all want to give back in the end. So it's just keeping it fresh.
I like the idea of doing it differently, not just every quarter or every month in a boardroom or in some type of format where you're doing fun things and talking about great.
Get together at my house, have dinner, just.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. Will you share with us how people can find out both about N.E.W. and about Talk of the Town, as well as maybe some of your speaking opportunities and your conventions coming up? Where do they find out how to follow you?
Well, they can visit us at Talk of the Town. On the website, it's www.talkofthetown.gifts.com. Please put the gifts in there, because if you don't, you'll get a surprise. I know, right?
Okay. Enough said.
Networking Executive Women N.E.W. It's networkingexecutivewomen.com. We are closed on the weekends. We're there during the holidays for the Saturdays and stuff. And we're located at 7420 Fullerton Boulevard, Suite 106, Springfield, Virginia.
Great. Thank you again so much for being on the show. I loved having you. And also thank you for being our sponsor, one of our sponsors. It's really important for us to make sure that we help promote wonderful causes and organizations as well. And so want to make sure and wish you all the success in the world. Thank you again for all your support. Thank you everyone for joining us on another Tea with Mali, and we look forward to seeing you next time.